he's very close to EMP. He is playing in a position where he can look for hacks, but he's not in Viz going behind, right? Because if he's behind, it's potentially easier for him to get forced out. Whereas look at this angle he's playing on this natural cover here. He can dip in and out of the cover. He was so close to getting hacked there. That was so risky. But it's such a huge EMP. So Striker goes down. Welcome everybody, my name is Coach Hayes. Today we have something pretty special. Obviously the Overwatch League season is not out yet. It's not going to be out for a couple months yet. But we've been blessed by our friend Glister with some leaked scrims. So today we're going to take a little dive into one of the maps. This is the Oasis from the map. Luckily on this map we're actually going to see quite a bit of variation. Right now you can see on the screen we're seeing Brawl, right? So we're going to see Brawl here. And potentially we're going to see some other different compositions. So we're kind of going to be learning together. I'm going to be transparent with you guys. I haven't seen this map. I haven't seen this scrim. So this is the first time for me watching this scrim. So I'm going to try and break down kind of what I'm seeing in the scrim. Why these teams are playing the certain compositions, or at least why I think they're playing these compositions. Right now this is being played on the live patch, which is not the experimental patch. This is before the Echo nerfs. So going to be interesting to see if they are playing Echo, because obviously Echo has been pretty dominant in contenders recently. So yeah, let's get right into this and let's have a look and see what we can find. I'll break down the compositions first. Team 1 are running with, obviously Team 1 NYXL, they're running with more of a Brawl composition. We can see that on Ryan Zarya, Mei, Lucio Bap, and Sim. So very much a Brawl composition focused around playing this kind of AoE, playing within the Lucio auras, playing within the Bap auras, and just finding value for enabling your Ryan. And obviously that Sim is going to be a solid DPS. We're probably going to look to see Team 1 looking to get a lot of walls off, depending on what comp Team 2 have. Team 1 just want to Brawl, right? They want to go in and go crazy with this composition. But on the other side of that, Shock are actually playing a more kind of more of a mobile Brawl comp. I'm interested to see what Glister's going to play here. Oh, they're throwing it back. So Shock are playing like the throwback comp, the Winston. Usually you see Winston D.Va here, but they're running with Winston Zarya instead. Sombra and Reaper, Lucio Moira. So there's a little bit of a throwback here to kind of just before the playoffs. Slight variation running the Zarya instead. Wonder why they're running this. Alright, like I said, this is a scrim, so they could just be testing things. We don't have to look into this like too much, but I think interesting that they're running the Zarya instead of the D.Va here. The way we're gonna see the composition of Shock play out here, I expect, is they're gonna play a lot slower and they're gonna play around their hack cooldown. So they're going to be looking for hacks. And if we get hacks, we're probably going to see them go aggressively. That's how I anticipate they'll play this comp. So we're probably going to look to see Striker take off angles where he can look for these hacks. And then we're going to see actual like aggression from Shock. They are going to go aggressive with their Zarya bubbles, but I think honestly, they're mostly going to be playing this comp to farm EMP, play around the hacks, and just see if they can kind of like probe any weaknesses of Team 1. They do have speed, so they shouldn't have an issue of NYXL speeding onto them. Let's kind of watch this first fight and see how it plays out. They're taking left side. They see instantly that Team 1 are running this kind of like slow brawly composition. And so like if we think about this from Shock's perspective now, if Smurf walks into this room, what happens? 1, he gets walled off. 2, he's not going to be able to get Zarya bubbles. He's going to die in here, right? If he walks into this room. So he obviously sees them. And they're going to look to rotate this. And like I said, Shock are going to play this very slow. They're going to look to play off hacks. This composition is you have to be very disciplined with this composition. And it's a composition that obviously Overwatch League teams can pull off, but even at the highest level, it's very difficult when you're playing against good players. We're going to see NYXL go super hard here because that's their one win condition. If they play slow versus this comp, they're just letting the other team farm EMP. And in general, like they want to take fast fights with this composition, whereas Shock play more around farming the EMP and looking for hacks. So Smurf's going with bubble. Ideally Smurf would get the Zarya bubble here. The way that you play this kind of composition is all around your Zarya bubble. So I think what they wanted to do here was Smurf go forward. Choi give Smurf the Zarya bubble there. Get some energy for Smurf for Choi, and then Smurf is going to drop his bubble. He's playing to farm. Team 2's win condition versus this comp is just playing for farming ults and trying to look for win conditions with their hacks. So we're probably going to see Smurf jump away here. Yeah. FT God gets picked off there. But you can see that Shock just have to concede the space here versus the comp of NYXL. And yeah. Team 1 go... sorry, not Team 1. NYXL go incredibly quickly here. And it really caught off Shock. I like the wall from Feather a lot. This wall basically denied off the Zarya bubble onto the Winston, and that's like one of the key parts of this composition. Like Shock's comp, they want to play around bubbling their Winston and just repeating that. Bubble the Winston in, get energy, give the Winston primal, farm ult. Then the Winston can jump back to a high ground position. You notice that Choi was playing off this left side so that he couldn't get punished. Shock's composition is all about playing in positions where you can't get rushed on. You can play to farm EMP, you can play to look for hacks, and then you can just look for openings. It's a very disciplined composition from Shock. I think it's going to be tough for them to retake now because of this situation, right? Because, again, NYXL's win condition, they want to get in there. They want to get messy with this. They want to brawl in. Striker looking to farm EMP. And they see that Shock want to come through the choke here, so they start closing the gap. And they're just holding these choke points. Nice play there from NYXL. McCree and Bianca took a right side flank. McCree manages to get a pick off. What's his name? What's that say? Wang Bongi. Who's the McCree again? Oh yeah, it's Guangbong. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's Guangbongi. So that's Guangbong. Yeah. Bianca getting close to his EMP. So this is where the win condition starts coming in for Shock. So far, like we're definitely seeing the weakness of this composition of Shock, being that when this composition doesn't have position, retaking position, especially on a map like this where you're retaking through close choke points like this, is going to be quite tough, right? And ult economy now, like NYXL looking really great in a great spot. They have so many ults available, and Shock still don't have that one EMP, which is a big win condition. Just moving into position. Wow. So Smurf goes in with the Zarya bubble there. I think Smurf is expecting to get his primal. Smurf and Glister go in together. NYXL putting so much pressure here. And again, like another win condition with their comp. Even though they're playing a brawl comp, when you have the BAP, you have so much more survivability with this BAP. Obviously, you have the drone. And also the window just enables you to have more pressure from longer distances. And so Smurf goes in here, he gets the Zarya bubble, but just so much damage there coming from Zarya bubble, and he gets melted before he can even get his primal. He was 100% expecting to get the primal there. Notice how Shock, they're just playing the choke, they're not pushing in, because they know that this kind of side is their control right now. Whereas the other side is where NYXL just have control. I think, yeah, they're gonna get forced back. Wow, okay. Yeah, they want to cleanse that energy from Choi. Okay. Pretty impressed, honestly, with NYXL this far. Now we're seeing the win conditions from Team 2, right? The EMP being such a strong ability that The EMP, the follow-up from Smurf. You see how Jonak and Friday are both hiding from this? Basically, the way that NYXL positioning here is they know that EMP is coming through. They're 100% sure the EMP is coming through. So Friday and Jonak are hiding so that when the EMP comes through, obviously the Lucio can get the beat off, and then Jonak can maybe look for a drone. So this is good positioning and play from the supports of NYXL, like understanding that this EMP is a big win condition from Shock, and positioning in a way that if the EMP goes onto the main group, they are in position to actually stop this EMP and potentially save the EMP targets with the beat and with the drone. Nice bubble there from Smurf. Totally denies off that beat coming onto onto Guangbong. An absolutely huge grab from Choi. So this is going to be the interesting part now. This is going to be the really interesting part. How Shock decide to hold this. Because in my opinion, right, like with the Zarya, this comp is at massive risk of just getting rolled over. That's my one concern, is that this composition might just get rolled over by the comp of NYXL. You have the Zarya, which has limited mobility. So I wonder if we're going to see Choi take top right. They're not going to take top right. They don't have many ults here. I wonder how they're going to play this. Maybe they're going to go with like an aggressive Winston play. You see that Striker's in the right side here, trying to farm his EMP as fast as possible, because that's one of the big win conditions here. Let's slow this down and watch this. So he jumps in behind. Bubbles off. Doesn't bubble Smurf because he has Primal already, so he's not worried about Smurf. I like the jump there from Smurf. Like, jumping behind the team so that he denies them. So that he's kind of he's committed to the fight, but obviously he has Primal, so he's going to be fine. And just making sure that making this as hard as possible for NYXL to disengage, and also while cleaving as many of these targets as possible. The bubble also good for cutting off heals. Look how he's denied off the heals onto Bianca. This is a nice defensive ult though from Feather. He really slows down the tempo of Shock with this Mei ult. And this is not a room where you want to be in with Smurf primaling, is it? Definitely is not. Hey, nicely executed there with the ults they had. You can see that Shock were getting creative there. Like with the ults they have available, they need to win this, right? Because obviously they're down 99%. They need to win these fights. Unfortunately, Striker didn't actually farm that much EMP there, so this might be kind of tough. This is going to be very tough for them now. They only have beat. And Choi just got walled off. FT God has to beat. The beat is very good. It denies the kill onto Choi. Go back slightly here. Really nice wall. Feather's walls have been really clean. Choi still have bubble. So Choi used self bubble obviously there. He has projected. I think one of the win conditions for NYXL needs to be just play here to try and force out cooldowns, because the composition of Shock is very weak when they've used the key cooldowns like Zarya bubble, like Winston bubble. When they've used those cooldowns, that is where NYXL's comp has an advantage. In situations like this, right, when the comp of NYXL doesn't have high grounds to play from, if NYXL can stall out these bubbles and these cooldowns and just walk forward with Rhine Shield, they have a big advantage here. Feather getting right in there, going for the triple freeze. Freezing Glister. And you can see they're just trying to bait out this. Smurf gets the bubble. Again. Wow. Choi pushing in a little too far there. I think the comp of Shock here, they have to play this from like, they have to play the Zarya on the high ground, otherwise this is going to happen all the time. the Troy. And so like I remember back in Fusion when I was coaching Fusion, we would play a similar composition back in like we would call it Flying Goats. This is back when Goats was meta. We would play Winston, Zarya, Diva, Brig, sorry, no. Yeah, triple tank, triple healer, right? So like Winston, Zarya, Diva, Brig, Zen, Lucio. And we would play solely the composition from high grounds. Yeah, Hyesta, we would call it floats, Flying Goats. This composition out of Shock right now has quite a lot of similarities with like Flying Goats in the way that it's played. No, we would play with Zen IQB. And this is really, really bad for them now. One thing to note, actually, I didn't actually notice this, but Jonak has switched onto the teams that played the Ana were just like, they weren't good. They didn't understand the meta. Zen was like by far the best. Yeah, when you lose Choi like that, it's going to be so difficult for you to retake. And again, like, the one thing we're seeing here is that Striker's really struggling to farm the CMP. I don't know if that's necessarily his fault. If we look at what Striker's having to deal with here when he's trying to farm on the Sombra, he's dealing with a McCree, a Mei. Not an easy composition for him to like farm EMP against, to be honest with you. And that's an absolute huge shatter from Yakbang. Overall, I would say NYXL's comp is easier to play on this map. So maybe this composition is favored. But I do think they played it well. Feather was very, very good on the Mei, actually. He impressed me on the Mei. Some really, really clutch walls. And I like the defensive Mei ult he did. It really slowed down the tempo of Shock. Yuxu, so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing from NYXL, but obviously this is only one map, so not super reflective of how good they're going to be as a team. And again, I just want to reiterate, guys, this is a scrim, so these teams may be trying something. We're doing this for the entertainment value. We're not taking this super seriously, but it's still entertaining to kind of look into some of the compositions and like play styles of these teams. Okay, so we've got a totally different composition now. We have Ball. Ball, I think, on this live patch is still a very strong main tank. Just in general, Ball is kind of one of the main tanks right now that can get away with the most. And I think he's just a very, very strong main tank right now. Diva, this obviously is played on the live patch, so Sig's shield has just been weakened by quite a bit with these changes. And so we're seeing these teams are running Diva instead. Is it the best right now? We don't know, because this is like obviously a scrim. They might just be trying things. But it seems like we do have a bit of a consensus here that both teams are playing a similar composition. So yeah, it's a bit kind of, they have kind of come to a consensus, it seems. And I'm assuming this is the first map of the scrim. It could be the last map of the scrim, but I think it's the first map of the scrim. So we've got Yakpeng on the Ball. Bianca is playing the Diva. We have Guangbong on the Tracer. Feather is playing the Sombra. Friday on the Brig, and Jonak on the, obviously, his signature hero, the Zenyatta. Just to kind of break down this composition, my initial thoughts, Zen and Brig obviously pair very well together. That's why we're seeing Zen and Brig. Really solid support line. Brig complements Zen so much because obviously Zen needs someone to protect him. And Brig does a brilliant job of that, like obviously with the shield bash, with the whip shot, and with the packs. And Brig also enables Zen to be very aggressive with the rally. So this is why we're seeing Brig with Zen. Zen speaks for himself. This is on live patch, so obviously Zen hasn't been nerfed here. Zen is still very, very strong as a hero. 30% damage Discord Orb. How can you not understand how strong that is? And obviously long range heals with the Harmony Orb. Reason that teams are running Zen in this comp, some people in Plat or Gold or Diamond or whatever rank, they might look at this and they say, but guys, they don't have enough heals with this composition. Guys, they don't have enough heals. Ball is going to be grabbing mega packs a lot. Ball is very independent as a tank. He's going to be getting mega packs. D.Va, however, is going to need to heals, but at this level, they understand. These people understand how to play around natural cover and avoid taking damage. So Zen and Brig heals is enough. And then Tracer, she's very, very enabled by having the Harmony Orb enabled onto her from a distance. And then Sombra, again, she's pretty independent, right? She's going to be getting her mega packs and her health packs. And occasionally she's going to get heals from Friday and Jonak, but we're not seeing like a massive amount of burst heals needed with this composition. It's quite, each of these heroes are very independent of each other. They all have good defensive abilities. It's not like one of them has a Reinhardt who's going to need like a massive amount of pocket or something. So we're seeing both of these compositions. The one variation we're seeing between NYXL and Shock is Glisters on the McCree. Glisters on the McCree. Now, to kind of break down these compositions and kind of like give you an idea of how I think these are going to be played, my initial thoughts on these comps are, I think Ball and Tracer are going to be playing to control space on the map. I actually think NYXL's comp is going to have more map control initially. So NYXL comp is going to be more so controlling flank position. So for example, right now we see Yakpung Feather playing on this right side. I think we're going to see Guangbongyi take this position as well. All of NYXL are taking this position. NYXL's comp is more so like well, it's a dive comp, but I wouldn't say Sombra's really going to be diving. I think Sombra, the way that Sombra is mostly played in pro play is like she's looking to hack value is huge in pro play, because one hack is the difference between winning the fight and losing the fight at this level. So I think we're going to see Feather diving less and focus more around playing with his core and looking for hacks to deny the divers of Shock. Whereas on the other side of that, if we look at Shock's composition, this composition is more so around McCree, very, very good at denying the ball. One of the biggest counters to ball is McCree. Brig is probably the biggest counter, but McCree is a very big counter as well. So we're probably going to see this composition from Shock being very more so kind of a core that is moving around the map and just playing to deny the divers, and looking for win conditions through just playing in strong positions. I think I like the composition from NYXL a little bit more than the composition from Shock, because I feel like NYXL's composition has more win conditions than Shock's does. And the one thing we have to identify here is that I feel like NYXL's comp has the map control with this Sombra. I think that's what the Sombra brings, because imagine from the side of Smurf here. Smurf wants to be taking key positions, but he's going to have to be extremely careful of getting hacked, caught out of position by the Sombra. And so I think we see NYXL, they kind of have the map control. And again, we see that Shock are playing this rotation style. They're giving up this side. NYXL setting Jonak right up on the high ground. One thing I want to pay attention to here is the orb usage, because this is kind of is a good way of understanding how NYXL want to play this. So it goes for a right click. It's a Discord on Striker. So he sticks his orb on Guangbong, and he's keeping that line of sight with Guangbong. We can see how NYXL's composition, they're playing to look for hacks here. That's what they're doing. Sombra's playing from point, D.Va's playing above point, Sombra's tagging point. Yakpong's playing very defensively here. The objective is now active. One thing that Jonak needs to be very, very careful of on this high ground is getting discorded, because if he gets discorded up here, whenever you're playing the Zen here versus this comp, if you get discorded, regardless of how much peel you have, Ball Tracer can kill you, and they will kill you through with Discord. So he needs to be very, very careful here. But look, this is such a nice spot, right? Because if they're peeling and they're denying Smurf from getting a position, Jonak just has a better position than Violet does. He has natural cover to play behind. He's able to orb freely from this position. The only worry is if he gets discorded and dove from here. You see how Feather's playing around point? Feather's just looking for hacks here. That's all he's doing, looking for hacks and farming ult. I like the translocator spot a lot because look how quickly he's back into this fight with his translocator spot. He's instantly back in there. Back there, putting pressure on the point. And this is kind of similar style to the way we saw the Sombra being played in the meta before playoffs of Overwatch League last year. Again, this is a really, really safe spot as well. Like, really, really safe translocator spot. Bianca makes a pretty big mistake there. Like, they're in a really good situation. All they need to do is play slow here. He already gets his EMP. Ronak and the rest of NYXL have rotated now around to main. And you see how Shock's composition has to play, like, a lot more passively versus this comp because of this Sombra creating so much space and so much pressure for the side of Shock. Oh, he's in trouble now. Okay. And you gotta be thinking about how Yakpung's feeling versus this comp. He is not gonna be able to dive in versus this comp. Because what's gonna happen if he dives in? Gonna get McCree flashbang, gonna get Brig stun, gonna get discorded, gonna get killed. He's dead. The only way they can dive in versus this comp is if they get a discord. Even with a discord, it's gonna be tough for him. The Striker gets a nice pulse onto Jonak. Jonak dies with trance. I think this might be... Yeah, this is the point lost. Both teams played this well. I think Bianca made a big mistake. Like, he was playing really, really forward when... Realistically, Bianca is not the win condition here for the side of NYXL. Bianca's not the win condition. He just needs to play passively, try and avoid taking damage, and be in a position where he can support his core. He was playing very forward. We can actually watch it back and see how he's playing. Just to confirm that I am right about that. I don't want to say... Let's have a look from the side of Bianca. The other thing that I think NYXL should be really focusing on here with this comp is using this Tracer and Zen synergy. I want to see the orb coming onto Guangbong so he can really control the enemy Tracer and really control this point. The orb shouldn't really need to be on Bianca. Honestly, I want to see Bianca playing on their side of the point so that he's minimizing any damage he's taking. He was playing on top, he drops down. Because I feel like D.Va's kind of a liability in this comp. Okay, so Bianca shifts forward. Still taking a lot of damage. He could be playing this a lot safer. And we're seeing what I was talking about at the beginning, right? Like, this is where Bianca is struggling now for heals because he's taking so much damage, when in reality he needs to be playing a lot more passive here and avoiding taking damage. So that his Tracer can have the orb. Blissa just takes Guangbong out instantly. Partly because of Bianca in fault. I'm not blaming Bianca for Guangbong dying, but Guangbong was needing these heals for a good while now, and he hadn't gotten them because Bianca was soaking up the orb. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like Bianca could have played this a lot better. There goes the point. Okay, so this is where things get interesting now. NYXL invested EMP and lost the fight, which is really, really bad. Really, really bad. Because EMP is an ult that you want to be winning with almost every time. Let's look at the defensive ults of both teams. Friday is 15% away from his Briggle, and Jonak has trans. FD God also has rally, and Violet has trans. Both teams have the same defensives here, so we might actually see quite an aggressive brawl fight here from NYXL, or at least try and take a brawl fight. Looks like NYXL want to take this left side room. Interesting position from Shock, actually. Shock positioning the supports back in main. Choi is tagging point. Blister, Striker, and Smurf are kind of controlling right side. Blister starts coming back. And we're seeing like slight rotations here from Shock. Wow, FD Gods won. So, because the core of Shock split up here, Yakbung sees an opportunity where he can dive this Kree. Goes in, gets the slam. And this is like really, really high value from Yakbung. If he can survive this, is huge. Because they forced trans and rally just because the core of Shock was mispositioning there. Shock's core needs to stay as a central unit so that this can't happen, right? So that their ball cannot dive. Because Yakbun goes in there when he sees an opportunity where McCree is alone. And meanwhile, while this was happening, Smurf goes in and gets taken down. I'm not sure if he got taken out by a hack. We can actually go back and rewatch this. Let's see how Smurf ended up dying here. So Yakbun goes in. Smurf turns around, goes forward, gets insta-killed. I think he got right-clicked there by Zen. NYXL go with the rally. And the mine shouldn't really be a problem now. And I want to see NYXL push this now. They did lose Yakpung actually, so it's even now, to be fair. Okay, so it's actually even now at the moment. Nice pulse bomb from Striker. Gets a lot of damage down onto Bianca. And this is kind of a stalemate, right? Like, if we look at this, this is kind of like a chessboard. It's a stalemate. Both teams have either side of the point. And if anything, Shock are way ahead here because they have the point control, so they're happy to take a stalemate here. In these positions, it's all about like which core rotates and catches the enemy core off guard. Both cores have the same amount of cover. It looks like the pulse bomb from Striker is going to be the deciding factor in this. Gets the pulse bomb. And because of the low heals here, nice boot from Choi. Boops Friday out into the open. Friday, shield is not enough versus constant pressure and relentless discord and orbs from Violet. And so Friday's shield's going down. Friday's looking as if he's dead. Still dies through the trance. That's even worse. Nice boot from Choi. Boops Friday out into the open there. And so NYXL just lose because of the pressure from that pulse bomb and the resource advantage that Shock gained there with this push. Now there is some hope. Oh, I say that as Feather dies. There was some hope there for NYXL. They have the EMP. They forced out both defensives from Shock beforehand. They used both of their defenses. Unfortunately, they couldn't win there. But they do have the EMP. EMP Diva Bomb. This could be an interesting combo. So because they've killed Feather, Shock are playing super aggressive here. Okay, they're rotating back. Guangbang touches. Shock's cause playing back a main. Feather's coming around. Look at how much Shock have split here. I think because they know that EMP is coming through and they don't want to get six man EMP'd. So they're splitting off quite a lot. Feather goes for the EMP onto Striker and Glister on this left side. Gets stunned instantly. I want to watch that from Feather's path. Wait, does Striker mean to shoot him there? He did. Wow, that could have been so risky, dude. He could have got stunned there during the EMP. That was incredibly risky. So they go for the EMP on the McCree and the Tracer. Striker gets EMP'd. Striker doesn't get noticed, actually. Meanwhile, in the back, Jonak and Friday kind of taking this position. I like this position a lot from Jonak and Friday, because it's a really good spot where Brick can deny the ball quite easily in this room. So I like this spot a lot from Friday and Jonak. They're even now. They have... Yeah, they're even. Bianca's going to use Diva Bomb. Oh, such a nice Diva Bomb from Choi. Takes out Bianca before he can remake. Jonak's traded. Okay, whose path should we watch this from? Let's watch from Guangbang. See how Guangbang's going to play this. Yes, pull spawn. Okay, forces out the Brig Bash. I think FD God's probably dead here. Okay. Gets the shots onto... Blister's now on the Sombra. Denies the hack coming onto him. NYXL have a good position. And the one thing that NYXL have, they have the Zen available. So they're going to have that additional support. Wait, how? And so only Jonak would position here, right? Look at how aggressive Jonak is. I mean, they do have the advantage, but he just need, like, if he's going to be there, his core need to be there with him, and they need to be walking forward. I would have actually liked to have seen NYXL play this a little more aggressive and go forward and try and, like, actually push this advantage that they have. The fact that they have most of their core in position, they could go forward here. But Jonak's kind of playing the right side. He's not in a position where Friday can really help him. He can bash, he can pack him, but pack is not going to stop Sombra damage, tracer damage, and ball damage coming through onto him. So okay, Yakpun gets hacked, and Shock have got this now. Yep. Wow, this was I'm struggling to figure out what I make of this one.
Score 1-1.
Shock's core looked really solid, but I feel like this was NYXL's point to lose. Composition wise, I feel like NYXL had the advantage with their comp. Bianca blundered towards the early stages of the point. Shock had really nice ult rotation. Like, they understood, like, the ult rotation, how they're going to play around it. I do feel like NYXL could have pushed their advantage a bit more when they did have the advantage. And Jonak just played way too aggressive there towards the end. Okay. I wonder if we're going to see any changes out of the compositions here. So far, 1-1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so what are we seeing from both teams? Similar composition from both teams. Shock going with the McCree variant. This McCree playing way more around the core and denying the enemy board tracer. The composition from NYXL more so playing around, like looking for these hacks and denying space from Shock. With this comp, Yakpung and Guangbong just have the advantage on like the positions they can take. Guangbong and Yakpung, they're kind of free in this composition. They can take whatever position they want, because the worry for Smurf is that he always has to be aware of where this Sombra is, where Feather's playing. So I want to watch Feather's perspective here, see how Feather's going to play this, because he is a very, very high impact character in this composition. We want to see him looking for hacks. We want to see him getting into positions where he can farm his EMP. He is looking for a hack on D.Va, I think. Goes all the way behind. Gets a hack onto ball. Are we going to see a follow-up? Oh, he gets spoofed off the map! He's gone. See ya, mate. Okay, Bianca made up for... Bianca made up for... Okay, that was really nice. So Bianca gets the boop. And now that he's gotten that hack win condition, he's just farming, right? Because he's already like basically won the fight for his team. He's just farming his EMP now. Blissa says no, you're not farming EMP. Takes him down. So on the side of NYXL, they've taken the high grounds. One thing you'll probably notice is that NYXL, the way they're playing this composition, they're not playing like as a core with their Zen and Brig. The Zen and Brig are playing independent of the rest of the team. And the rest of the team are just focusing on controlling positions and then following up on these hacks. It's pretty much the win condition that NYXL are playing for here is just all around the hacks, because they can't dive in, right? If they dive in versus this comp, like I said before, they're going to die. They're just dead. And we're seeing this win condition coming through repeatedly here. Again, Feather gets a hack onto Striker, proving the dominance in this 3v2 situation. Meaning that Striker and Smurf are restricted to what space they can take because of this Sombra. This Sombra are creating a lot of problems here for NYXL. For Shock. So he's playing point, playing to farm. Interesting D.Va bomb. They go aggressive with D.Va bomb. They managed to get Glister. Yeah, and this Sombra is causing so many problems for them. Oh, this is juicy. He does it. I can break down a little bit of what Feather's doing here, just to kind of give you an idea. So, firstly, the position he's playing. From this position here, he is controlling the point with hacks. Anyone that tries to come near him, he's going to obviously hack them. If Choi is not aware of him for any moment, he's going to get hacked. Throws his TP top right. This is obviously a play that NYXL have communicated they want to go aggressive with D.Va bomb. Glister cannot hide from D.Va bomb. He gets taken down. Smurf tries to come in. Again, like basically this Sombra's effective range is anyone that's inside this radius that gets hacked is in big trouble. That's how much pressure the Sombra's creating here. Because the side of Shock, the NYXL, they have the advantage now. We see the core of NYXL moving very aggressive here, looking to kind of push this advantage that they have. The other thing they also have is the fact that they have a trance. Goes in, goes aggressive, gets the EMP. I think I am fine with the EMP. I think I'm fine with the EMP. I don't think you need to be greedy with this EMP. And we're seeing now Glister's swapping off the McCree onto the Sombra. That Sombra really causing a lot of problems. NYXL now deciding to go for the mirror matchup. Again, you see how Feather is playing this Sombra on positions where he's making it hard for the ball tracer of Shock try and get position. And a big part of these compositions, like even in the last meta, like when you would play the ball tracer Sig Zen Brig composition with Echo, the ball tracer would play as a duo. They would play as a duo to try and take position and kind of control the map. And so because of this Sombra, Shock have now have to invest all 6 of their characters coming through main here, when realistically they want to send the core through this position here, but now instead of this, they're actually sending all 6 people across this side and just clearing out the side of NYXL altogether. And we see now Glister's playing the same style now. He is the one looking for these sneaky hacks. He's the one looking for the hacks. Because again, the hack is the big win condition here. Yakpun does see him, almost forces him out. Now that side of Shock have a Sombra, Bianca does need to be playing a lot more defensive here. One of the win conditions, like I mentioned, is getting that hack. So Bianca needs to play in a position where he cannot get hacked. There's no risk of him getting hacked. Go back here and break down what happens. Feather, I like the position a lot. He gets the hack onto Violet. Wow, okay, so he gets the hack onto Violet. Yakpung follows up. Clean fight win. They win this fight with only mines and a hack. That's insane value. That's insane value, because now they're in a situation where they're going to have a lot of these ults available and like a lot of these coming up for the next fight. Shock do have both defensive ults here, so they have quite a lot of ults to be able to work with. We see Guangbong is getting punished here on the Tracer. Seeing the strengths of these Sombra compositions, you have to respect the Sombra. You have to always know where the Sombra is. Otherwise, you can be in a position where you could potentially get hacked. This is what Sombra is bringing to this composition. She provides... And this is one of the reasons why she was also played in the previous Overwatch League meta, is because the Sombra just provides so much space control and threat of being hacked. You have to play so disciplined around cover. Hack might low-key be a very overpowered ability. So Shock are going aggressive with Rally. They're walking in, taking space. They also have Trance available if they need it at this moment. But right now, if we look at the armor of Shock, they're pretty chill. They're chilling right now, hard. They have so much army here, and they also have a Zen ult to be defensive if they need it. But that's an absolutely massive hack from Feather. But we're seeing the armor there come through, and we're seeing why Rally is so incredibly powerful and so strong. Because even though they get a 6-man hack or a 5-man hack, the armor is enough to just sustain and keep them alive until Violet can get the Trance. The only person that died was a Striker, was the Tracer, who obviously has limited health, even with the Rally. Fortunately, the replay code ends just short, but spoiler alert, NYXL did win this fight. That EMP was absolutely huge. It was a little risky from Feather's perspective. You see how, like, when Feather is looking to... One of the things a lot of Sombra players make mistakes with is, like, understanding when they need to be looking for hacks and when they need to be playing for EMP. He's very close to EMP. He is playing in a position where he can look for hacks, but he's not in Viz going behind, right? Because if he's behind, it's potentially easier for him to get forced out. Whereas look at this angle he's playing on this natural cover here. He can dip in and out of the cover. He was so close to getting hacked there. That was so risky. But it's such a huge EMP. So Striker goes down. Feather goes down. NYXL have both defensive ults. Even though they lost both DPS, they have both defensive ults, which is incredibly strong in this situation. So, there we have it. That was the end of the map. Overall, I think NYXL looking pretty good. NYXL definitely composition-wise, I think they had the advantage in most of these maps. This Sombra comp looks incredibly strong. We may see another composition like beat it out. Obviously, this is early days. And I'll leave it to the good coaches to figure out the compositions. I'm simply a coach who is looking and trying to break down the best I can what I can see. If you guys did enjoy this video or even watching the stream, I'd appreciate if you could drop a follow and maybe even check out my YouTube. Consider subscribing. We also have other videos on my channel. We've done pro reviews. We've done top ranked player reviews. We reviews Yasenza, the Pharah player. We've done quite a few reviews. And when Overwatch League is going to come back out in a couple months, we are going to be doing more of these reviews where we look at kind of and try and break down some of the win conditions of the comp and just kind of like try and explain my idea of how these comps are played, the win conditions. Yeah, just kind of providing like an insight, I guess, into the way these compositions are played.